Right, I'm going to strip down this tank completely, so I'm going to try and remove the trim as carefully as I can. Sometimes I break the trim, unfortunately, but we're going to completely break this tank down into its glass panels and rebuild the tank. I picked this tank up for £5 from a local person. I'm pretty sure it's the rubber's gone on it. I can see from the sides here that the rubber's kind of going a little bit dry. So to be on the safe side, and after my sump disaster the other week, I'm going to rebuild this tank. So there's 3 tanks in total. One of them's over there, all glass, ready to be rebuilt, but it needs some of the glass cut off, because unfortunately I've got a slight crack in one of the end panels, so that needs to be rebuilt. This one has been rebuilt and resealed, as you can see, and I'm going to now do this one. So what I'm doing here is just trying to loosen up the silicone that's holding the trim together. This feels like it might come off quite easy actually, because obviously the silicone's not too good. You can see that's now starting to lift off the trim already, which is good news because I want to try and save this trim. So I'm going to take all that off. I'll take the bottom one off, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how I'm going to strip out the silicone from the glass panels. Well, thankfully the trim's come off really easy on that one. It didn't really take much persuasion at all, unlike some other tanks I've had where fortunately it's just been hours trying to get the trim off. So now I'm going to break these panels apart. This one's got a slight lip on it, as you can see. Personally, I'll probably leave it like that if I'm putting the bottom trim on it. I will obviously take the panel off, or I might actually just make that a complete flat panel at the bottom to rest. So we'll see how we go, taking that off, and then I'll make a decision about that later. But yeah, hopefully this tank comes apart quite easy. So these are the tools I'm using. I'm using it just as a normal Stanley knife with a sharper blade than one it's got at the moment, but I will change that blade over. I've got a paint scraper again with a razor blade connection. I find this very useful to help remove the silicone, and also this painter's tool, which is a scraping tool, which has got a very thin blade on it, which is good for getting up between the trim and just easing off that trim a little bit easier. So they're the tools I'm using. So as you see, I'm cutting away all the silicone inside. I think this tank was resealed. The bottom panel anyway was resealed, because you could see by the newness of the silicone, but also it doesn't match how this one was put together at the sides here. It's got like a little bead of silicone where this was quite thick. As you can see, it's this kind of thickness stuff, and this feels like a newer silicone to what the other stuff is. So I'm going to continue with that, and hopefully we'll get to breaking the panels off soon. Right, you can see I'm just trying to get my knife through here, which does actually go all the way through. I'm sure whether you can see it very easy. But it does go all the way through, so we're going to be able to get through this panel a lot easier than some. If you can get your knife in there, then you're on a winner, as they say. It's the routine. So yeah, we'll continue with that. So as you can see, I've now removed the bottom part of the tank now, so that should make your life a little bit easier to get to the sides and move those around, and now get my knife in there. When you're doing things with glass tanks, especially these ones, or any tank, just be very careful. There isn't glass shards or anything like that. Some of these lower top and bottom edges are quite rough. They don't tend to finish them off because they put trim on them, so they will cut you if you're not very careful. So please be very careful when doing anything like this. Don't want you to get hurt trying it. So yeah, just be very gentle, take your time, and you'll be able to take these apart quite easily. See, now I can just twist the glass just to start breaking off the seal. Just be very gentle, move it backwards, forwards, because you've got 4 sides to think about here, so you don't want to drop any panels. What we've done now is marked out with a Sharpie where we're going to run the tape along. So this is twice the distance. In this case, I'm using 5mm glass. So this distance here is 10mm in size, because I'm going to have a bit of glass there, as well, butting up inside the glass area, so I need an extra 5mm inside. So now I've marked out the edge, so what I've done is I put an edge around there the same thickness of the glass. I'm going to tidy up the corners here, so using a straight edge, I'm going to cut this bit here, so you'll put a square on there, just straighten that up and do all those corners, and then I'm going to go onto the side panels. Now the side panels, because they're on this tank, they butt up to the edge of the tank. You have taken into consideration the depth of the glass there, then another same thickness of the glass, so actually it's twice as depth for the masking tape. So I'll show you that bit in a minute. So it's worth using a square here and an X-Acto knife just to get along here, or a very sharp knife like that, or a Stanley or a razor blade across here, just to get that edge really nice and clean. So here we have the excess tape cut away, so revealing a nice corner, so that silicone will go all the way around that, and then we take the tape off. A tip at the end, at the top of the glass, so the top of the tank, make sure you cut some excess tape, or you've got excess tape. What I tend to do is just fold that over, just to make a little tab, like so. And then that's easy to pull that off. So if you put the sides on first, like I've done in this piece, and then put the bottom strip of masking tape on, when you pull the sides, it'll actually pull the bottom off as well, so it'll make the job a little bit easier for you. Right, so I've got all my pieces laid out now, all masked up, ready to go. So the next stage is going to be siliconing these together. So I'm going to silicone the back panel on first, and then bring on the sides to each side, bringing up the tape, and then I'll put the front on afterwards. Just put the silicone on the back there. I'm going to have to move quite fast, so I might not be able to video all this, but I'll show you it being put together if I can.